Hello, friends. David Miller. I'm a Los Angeles multimedia artist, photographer, filmmaker, animator, musician. I picked up a new piece of gear. It is a very inexpensive one. It is very cool looking, and I think it is something that's going to shape the future of at least the next year's worth of projects. That is the Camp Snap 8. This is a video camera. It's a digital video camera. It's not 8mm cam, even though it has that exact same housing. And it does not do 4K, it does not have a screen, it does not have image stabilization. It is literally the kind of thing that you turn on and pull a trigger and film. The audio is poor. The size of the pixel dimensions is in the 2800 range. I'm going to put that number up on the screen right here. And it has filters. It's making not raw files for sure. All these things that I'm saying that sound like detriments are things that I love about this guy. And the reason why is that I want to make organic works that are lo-fi, that have my feeling. I do not want to have what most quote-unquote professional filmmakers have, which is $10,000 plus of gear that's on rigs, that's on mechanical dollies, that have a screen that we can replay. Like, I understand why those things are important to those people who engage in those things, and why on a certain level you want that. But for what I want to make, I want none of that stuff. So let me back up a little bit though. This is an interesting company, Camp Snap. They came to prominence with something called the Camp Snap Zoom. It's an 8-megapixel camera that has no screen. They talk about how camping and the great outdoors was always relevant to their family. And, you know, if you've ever sent a kid to summer camp, you know that they don't allow screens, like no phones. It's all about disconnecting, and considering how many people are addicted to screens today, you know, that makes sense and it's relevant. In this case, this camera with its retro housing, already, you know, I'm a big fan of hidden technology. I like cameras like the Fuji X-T5 and X-T whatever that have the silver casing, and I'd be on shoots and people go, "Oh, I've never been shot with a camera that old before." I'm like, this camera's only 1 year old. But there's a way to do modern technology that doesn't make us feel like we are subservient to it. In fact, having things that remind me of my childhood a little bit, like an 8mm looking camera, makes me excited to use that tool, if that makes sense. I'm like, oh yes, I'm recapturing some of the joy I had when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I picked up the one that my family had maybe lying around, and there might not have been any film in it for all I remember, but I remember something good about this design. I did some tests with the black and white filter, shooting an art model named Alice in a hotel in downtown LA called Style. I took this thing out to Point Vicente, which is between Palos Verdes and a little bit of San Pedro where I live. I set my phone up to do a time lapse of a really cool sunset. Point Vicente is one of the best places in the world to see the sunsets. And also what I filmed on the Camp Snap 8. And then I had it on a few more art model shoots, one with my friend Sawyer, and we are at Greystone Mansion in Beverly Hills. This was shot with the vintage filter on, and with actress and dancer Maya, and this was shot in a studio downtown LA, and it's with the filter off. In all instances, I already know these flaws. One, the audio quality is super poor, and it includes hearing the snap when you turn on this. So when you push the trigger, you're always going to get that like plastic sound. I just take pictures of you, I guess. Two, it is pretty darn shaky. It does have a tripod mount on the bottom, and you could easily monopod this guy. You could also do something like put a hair tie around the trigger or some piece of tape, and it'll let it run without you having to forcibly hold your finger down all the time. I can tell from experience that, you know, having your hand in this position for a few minutes actually gets pretty tiring. And it makes you ready to cut the scene pretty quick. Without the viewer, the way that we were able to check what we've done There's a little USB port here, have my computer set up, plug it in, pull the video right up on the computer. Didn't have to transfer it over or anything like that. Other technical specs, so it's got a battery meter on one side, and on the other side it has your footage time meter. I think I can get about 25 minutes on the 4 gig card that's currently in here. I haven't done, full tests with that. There is a way to upgrade the memory space of your camera. Other things to know, you've got different aspect ratios you can film in. 4:3 is what I'm keeping it in now because that reminds me of the TV aesthetic. And I had a notion that being that I take this with me everywhere, I'm more likely to get footage for a lo-fi avant-garde art model film. I have an idea for one that's kind of like Samsara or other films that just have little snippets, moments that are kind of tangentially arranged and related. They're not like a story, a non-narrative. I'm not really interested in that, to be honest. I highly recommend this guy. Right now is on sale for $150. They say it's like a pre-order thing. It might always be $150 for all I know. I can tell you that I was highly advertised this on Instagram and still am, even though I own it. And I was getting my haircut and I saw on the news, on the TV, they started talking about this guy as well. And every shoot I've taken it on, all the models have just like picked it up and had a blast filming themselves or the environment with it. And the feedback I've gotten from them as far as like what the footage evokes in them, almost everybody of the younger generation that I know, including my own daughter, would be like, if something looks too professional, they don't like it. It doesn't have the aesthetic pleasantness that something that's imperfect has. And maybe that's just the people that I keep in my circle, because I feel that way too. I like shooting on disposable cameras. I like shooting with Polaroids, and all the people I work with are more inclined for that than they are like the crisp, clean, digital, good lighting, very normal looking stuff. I mean, Anthony Bourdain in his last interview had a really good quote where he talks about how easy it is to do competent footage in travel shows and food shows, and he detests competent stuff. We all want things that have a little bit of a feel to it. The best film I saw this year was 28 Years Later, and that was largely filmed with iPhones. I know they use Red for some things and drones, but 28 Years Later, 28 Days Later on its nasty video, the Crank movies filmed on GoPros, like this is stuff that has its own feel that's memorable, and it's also suitable for the stories they're trying to tell in those films. That's where I think I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna figure out what stories or what footage is ideal for what seems to me to be a little more of like a travelogue, documentary type of camera. I'm gonna find a way to produce the sound in a professional manner so I'm not stuck with the really nasty garbled sound that comes off of this. It might involve Zoom recorders and lav mics and all the tools that people use to do professional sound. I'm okay with that aspect. I want good sound in all of my stuff, but I want the footage itself, the visuals, to have raw, direct feel. And as far as the camera shake goes, I'm using DaVinci Resolve, clean some of it up. If I can't clean it up, I'm not gonna clean it up. David Lynch famously in the early 2000s switched over to digital video, did things like Inland Empire on low-grade nasty cameras, and besides the fact that it was an immediate image that he could see and build upon, I remember some interview where he was talking about how just him with that little camera up to his face and being able to flow around and be untethered from all the rigs and tripods and traditional camera movements really fed his soul as an artist and as a filmmaker. You got 150 to blow? I say snap up the Camp Snap 8, and if this thing breaks, gets wet, 150 is not something I'm gonna cry about, versus if it was something that was like $1,000 or $2,000 camera, which I have broken. Even just sand eliminated my last camera. Just sand on Long Beach, and it got in the on-off switch, and that was the end of that. Gear that you don't hold in like high reverence is very important to getting good work done and being able to be a little more risky with it. You have any experiences with it yourself? Let me know below in the comments. Talk to you next time.